All right, let's talk about 5 and 6. I'm been doing these in duos because usually there's a first one which is very short, and then kind of the longer one. It's still not like a ton of reading for each of these. The first one here is her coming to after after having passed out during benediction, which is this religious rite, and them kind of laughing about it. It was the heat. It was the heat, and saying like, oh, she felt, she laughed, and it's like, oh, but though a warm peace was falling, her mind and her heart, in her mind and her heart, there's some text issues in these sections where I'm having to semi-edit on the fly. Um, there, because it says though a warm peace was falling, her mind and her heart felt oddly broken and chastened, as if someone had held up her striped soul, her her stripped soul up, and laughed. So she feels rather exposed, having passed out, because it was definitely a thing of vulnerability. And then half an hour later, in the next section, they walk down, and in this section, she does say like, maybe benediction was too long of a service for you, and she's like, yeah, I'm just used to mass, and she kind of does go into the thing of like, I don't know if it's how inconvenient being Catholic is. It doesn't seem to apply anymore. And as far as morals go, some of the wildest boys I know are Catholics, and some of the brightest boys, they don't seem to believe much of anything. And they talk about a guy who's who absolutely roars when people mention immortality. And then there's how, another man, the guy she's going to thing, who says that no intelligent person can believe in supernatural Christianity. He says Christ was a great socialist, though, and he doesn't actually. That doesn't particularly shock him. He does talk about stuff like birth. She mentions birth control, and he does wince about that, which might be religious, might also be, oh God, my sister is using birth control as well. And he says like, we all have bad spots, and then he talks about how she is sort of his, something that he has held on to in his thing, and sort of put her up as a little bit of a kind of a shining glorious light. There's a thing here where she's sort of his the good and the pure and the virginal in the world, but also something, just something outside, something living outside that he is using in his way. Like, I used to build dreams about you. A man has to have something living to cling to, I think. Lois, it was your little white soul I tried to keep near me, even with life as its loudest, and every intellectual idea of God seemed the sheerest mockery. And the desire to love and a million things came to me and said, look at me, here at me, I'm your life, you're turning your back on it. So his own worries of like, the path that he has chosen. And saying that like her soul, her baby soul flitting on ahead of him was very frail and clear and wonderful. Like that was a simple thing, because it's not his own worries and doubts. This it's a thing. So it's sort of using her, and there's also just sort of the depiction of her in a lot of this, which is again, it's this Fitzgerald thing of, it's kind of childlike, and like, yeah, of how of how a young woman is, which feels like Fitzgerald's kind of like putting these little paragons up to worship, and you don't know if that's. I think it feels like that's the author, because we're not getting the other part of her, though we do know that she's going to go meet her lover after this, and that's where she's going off to now, is to meet this Howard guy. Um, and I guess that's what we're going to find out. We're going to find out in the next section of the book, which is actually a really short one. So I think I'm going to read it right now so I can complete the thing.